everybody, and welcome to ConTinual, the con that never ends. This evening, we're talking with incredible mystery author, Kate Carlisle. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to have you with us. It's a wonderful thing to have a mystery to read on a cold night in November. I love having a good mystery to curl up with, and you have two fabulous series that we will talk about. But one of the things I want to know first off is what started you on your writing journey? Was there a story or book that made you go, oh, I want to do that, or I can do better, or something that you admired, or what started you on your path?
Well, it wasn't a book per se, but I've been reading my whole life, of course, and mostly mysteries and biographies. I mean, we all read everything. But I had a friend, I guess I was going through a searching period, like, what shall I do with my life? Maybe I can sing. or I could become a professional volleyball player or something. And I'll go see an astrologer and see what they say. And I had a girlfriend who said, I don't know why you're messing around with all these things that you're trying to do. You should be a writer. You tell stories. So I thought, oh my God, it was like being given permission to do it. And after that happened, I just started writing, and it took me years. I mean, I had to go to classes, and I had no idea what a hook was. I didn't have the education in the craft, but I had the stories and the, step in the mind. So I had to learn the craft. So I spent a few good years taking classes, and, then I started going to conferences, and, eventually met an agent and sold a book. And
that's so cool. Now, you and I met on our writing journeys through Romance Writers of America, where we both were finalists in the Golden Heart contest. Mm-hmm. And that start was in romance. Right. Now, we both started before the big explosion of online presence. Mm-hmm. And so we both started as traditionally published authors. Right. How did that come about for you? Obviously, you started in the romance genre, and you're mostly a mystery writer now, although there is a romantic arc through both of your major series. Mm-hmm. But tell us a little about your beginnings in romance.
Well, I started out writing mysteries when I wasn't published. I wrote, 4 or 5 or 6 mysteries, and then one day things happened to me, just like, I don't know, serendipity or something. But I was on the board of one of the local Sisters in Crime mm-hmm. Group.
Great organization.
Yeah. And one meeting, 1 month, a couple of the board members from the local romance writers group came to our meeting. And then we were invited to go to theirs. And I went to the Orange County chapter meeting the next month. And it was a revelation. It was just eye-opening. I had never seen such a savvy business group where everything was geared towards selling a book. You got all the information, you met agents, all that stuff that RWA does, that mystery doesn't do. Mystery conferences are all fan conferences, fan and author conferences. And, I love going to them too, but this was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And once I started going to the meetings, I started reading more romance, and then I started writing more romance. And then I met some friends who became very good friends with some wonderful romance writers. And it just kind of, but then when I sold a mystery. So a sort of weird, not really parallel tracks, but crazy, crazy.
Yeah. Well, now, Homicide in hardcover was your very first mystery sale, correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the Bibliophile mysteries.
The Bibliophile Mysteries is, the character is Brooklyn Wainwright. She is a rare book restoration expert. In other words, she's a bookbinder, but she specializes in rare books. And with each of my books, she has a book that she's working on, and that book provides the catalyst for the story, the plot, the suspects, the victim. But it all has to do with that book. And I usually try to have some parallels in my story that coincide with the story that I'm writing about.
Uh-huh.
So the third book is The Lies That Bind. And the book that she's working on is Oliver Twist. And so Oliver Twist is, about a little band of thieves, little pickpockets. And my book is about a band of book thieves. So people are selling books that have been fraudulently upgraded so that they're making more money, and they're selling them overseas. So nobody pays too much attention because it's all online. But so there's little parallels in each of my books that coincides with the book that she's working on. So,
which I find super, super cool. Now, you have a book in that series that just came out, correct? That would have been in June of 2020.
Yes, The Grim Reader.
Your titles are so great. One of my favorite titles on the book is The Cookbook Conspiracy. That one is one of my favorite titles. And One Book in the Grave. That's my other favorite title.
Right. In case you haven't noticed, my books are considered cozy mysteries. I never knew what that was until I sold a book and the cover came back with a cat and it was very warm and cozy looking. And my agent, I had to get her on the phone and go, "What is this?" Because I thought I was just writing a mystery, seriously, a traditional mystery, but it fit into the cozy category because there's a niche. The bookbinding niche fits perfectly into the cozy market. So,
anyway. Tell us a little bit about The Grim Reader.
The Grim Reader is number 14. Yeah.
14. So for everybody listening, this is a great series that you can binge read.
Yes. Yes. It's fun to start at the beginning because you get to know the characters, but
and they're wonderful and quirky and cool.
Thank you. But each book is self-contained as far as the mystery goes. But it's more fun to see the story arc and the secondary characters and how they grow and all that sort of thing. The Grim Reader takes place in her hometown of Dharma in the wine country, and they're going to have a book festival. So her mother is in charge of the book festival.
Oh dear.
And but she, instead of being sort of her flighty, astral traveling Wiccan self, her mother has become this hard-nosed administrator. She's running this thing and she's doing great. And it's really a funny twist on her mom's character. But it takes place in Dharma, and it's just fun. And the book that she's working on in this book, in The Grim Reader, is Little Women.
Ah.
Yeah. And a lot of times these days, in the last couple of years, if you go to a writer's conference or book festival, they have the book of the festival.
Right.
So everybody reads that book, and then they have some programs dedicated to that book and, certain things like that. In this one, they're doing the last night of the festival, they're doing the musical version of Little Women. They're presenting on stage. And it's fun. Anyway, that's The Grim Reader, and there are some parallels in Little Women that go into this book, but you'll have to read them and find out.
I'm a book behind, so I have the Grim Reader on my reader, but haven't read it yet. So your other major series is equally fabulous, and that's the Shannon Hammer mysteries. The starting with let's see, High and Finish, correct?
Right.
Is that the first one? And that's this one right here. And Shannon Hammer is a fixer-upper. She's a house repair person, and they're called. The series is called the Fixer-Upper Mysteries, right?
Right. Right.
So tell us a little bit about Shannon Hammer and her crew.
Shannon Hammer is a building contractor, actually. She lives in a small town in Northern California on the coast, sort of a Mendocino type of town, or a Ferndale, if anyone's ever been to Ferndale. The entire town is Victorian. The style of the town is Victorian. It's been around since the Victorian era. And that's her specialty. She works on Victorian homes, and then her father was a building contractor. So she comes by it, through the family. And in those books, well, each of those books has a construction site that she's working on, and it changes each time. The book that's coming out in 2 weeks, or less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Is called Premeditated Mortar. And in this book, she's been contracted to work on a site just north of the town, and it's the old insane asylum that has been abandoned for years, obviously for 40 years or something. They're going to turn it into a small boutique hotel.
Is it haunted? Please tell me it's haunted.
As you do. It's well, it's probably haunted, but there's not a lot about the haunting. There's a lot about the past, and some of the horrible things that went on and the horrible people. But my books are really light, and
they
so,
are.
There are things that happen, and they're kind of grisly, but they're not blood and guts on the page, because
it's more in the line of cozies rather than noir. Right. Or
yeah.
So that is Premeditated Mortar is number 8 for you in the Shannon Hammer series. That's just wonderful, and it's really wonderful for readers like me who love your work and love your genre, that you continue with these wonderful characters and give us new stories in each of these series. But you did also write a couple of romances.
I did.
And so do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I wrote 6 romances for Harlequin. I started out at Silhouette, but Silhouette and Harlequin are the same, really. So 6 Harlequin romances that were so fun, and I loved them. The first 3 that I wrote were 3. They weren't actually brothers, but they were all adopted by a woman who was
raised them as brothers.
She's raised, they were raised as brothers, and they're very close, and they're fun. I like in romance, I like writing a hero-centered series. So the 3 men are alpha but confused. I don't know how else to describe them. They're not jerks, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
They're great, and
they're strong, complicated men. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next 2 after that were twin brothers, and they owned an island in the Caribbean because
why not?
Why not? They're billionaires. Come on. These books are sort of fantasy based, but not their reality, but it's like fantasy to meet a
billionaire
on an island in the Caribbean, right? And then the 6th book in that series was the beginning of a 3-book series of 3 brothers who were, they started making beer in their barn in Northern California. Everything's in California. And I loved them, and they were, of course, they're billionaires because if you make beer, you're going to become a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the fantasy.
There you go.
But the two brothers that didn't get their stories, I stopped writing after the first brother, unfortunately. And I still think about those two brothers, and I kind of wish I could write those stories, but the mysteries kind of take over my life. And as a friend of mine, a writer friend, told me a few years ago, I said, I really wish I could write these guys. And she informed me that, you know, they're fictional, right? They're not real.
But their stories are still there in your head.
They're in my head. So
yeah.
Anyway, someday.
Well, maybe one day
yeah.
you'll get a chance to scribble them down on page. Well, now we're coming into the holidays. And so what are some of your favorite holidays to celebrate?
Well, growing up, it was Halloween.
My favorite, as everybody knows.
I know, that's right. I grew up in a little town at the beach, Manhattan Beach in Southern California. And there were so many kids in my neighborhood. We just, you know, ran the streets. We just,
oh yeah,
just played outside until your mother calls you in at, you know, at 8 o'clock at night or something. So Halloween was just the most fun of all. I loved dressing up. I loved doing the whole thing. I guess everything's more fun when you're a kid anyway, because there's no responsibilities, but at least for me, there was none. So like Christmas, we just showed up and there were presents, and it was great.
Absolutely. So do you decorate for the holidays?
We decorate. We decorate like mad people. I mean, we put stuff all over the outside of, I mean, just decorate every bush and the garage, just big wreaths over the garage. And yeah, we decorate. It's crazy. And then I don't know why, but we got into this. I'm looking at my husband. He's not there, but he goes crazy at Christmas. And so yeah, we do all that. But the problem with Christmas is that I can no longer think of presents for people.
I know. It's
so
hard.
In the world. I hate doing gift cards or, you know, that kind of thing. But sometimes I just, here's your card. Just
enjoy.
Right. And I know they will, but still, you know.
Someone asked me if, obviously we didn't do the annual Addams Family Halloween party this year.
Mm-hmm.
And someone asked me if I was still going to decorate. And I'm like, of course. Are you mad? Of course I'm going to decorate. Right. How do you think I'm going to keep up my spirits otherwise? And I got the same question about Christmas. I'm like, are you mad? Of course I'm going to decorate for Christmas.
Of course.
So, you know, we've got to all keep up our spirits. And one of the great things for all of us who are readers and writers too, is that we have the opportunity to escape a little bit from whatever's going on by either diving into writing a new book or diving into reading some. And obviously your work is giving a lot of people a lot of fun and a lot of escapism to enjoy. I'm really excited that I can get the new Fixer Upper in, 9 days, because December 1st of 2020. So talking about presents though, what are some books this year that you would recommend? You know, as readers, we're always exchanging, oh, have you read this? And you should try this. So are there any books that you have read this year that you would recommend for present giving or for reading or borrowing from the library or reading online?
You know, I should make a list of all the books that I read, and because whenever I am asked this question, my mind goes blank. I know.
Isn't it awful? I'm sorry. I should have probably given you some
heads up. Come on.
Pre-warning, yes.
But I do have, I love I love the other cozy mysteries. There's some that are so good. I mean, if I were going to give books, which I do sometimes, except I have a sister-in-law. I have two sisters-in-law who read constantly, and I can't find books for them because they've read them all. So it's always a treat to surprise them, to find something new. And so now I'm going to talk about these books, but I can't even remember the authors. And I mean, it's just terrible. But there's a sort of a new, well, the first book came out maybe 2 years ago. And I know there's a second book. I don't know if there's a third book, but this was a complete surprise that my sister-in-law loved. And it's a mystery. It's about a group of police officers in Paris. They're all misfits. They're all screw ups. They're always going on sick leave because they, did something, broke their nose in a bar fight or something. And they're all brought together in this ragtag group of misfits, and they solve crimes. And it's just charming and interesting because it's Paris and it's, the whole bit.
What's not to love about Paris?
Right. And if I could tell you what the author's name was, I'd be
Do you remember the title?
I remember nothing. It's horrible. There's another author out that writes a really sweet, not sweet, it's pretty, it's just fun. It's Abby Collette, and she writes the Ice Cream Parlor Mysteries.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, and they're great. And oh my God, she talks about ice cream, and so it's and she has recipes because it's a cozy. And so that's a good series. There's the first one is I have it here somewhere. I don't know what the title is. See, my mind is a blank, but I'll tell you the second book is coming out soon, and the name of it is Game of Cones.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's is that Cynthia Baxter? Is that right?
No, that's another one. Actually, she's got the same title.
They do. They have the same title.
And I just saw that the other day. But this is Abby Collette, and Collette is like the
yes,
girl's name. Yeah.
Yeah, that's her second one then. Let's see here. Her first one is A Deadly Inside Scoop.
Yes, thank you.
That's cool.
I was just being whispered. My husband just whispered, reminding me of two books that I read lately. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. My friend Paige Shelton writes a mystery series. She writes the Scottish Bookshop Mysteries, but she has a new series out that's so much, it's dark and it's cool. It's a traditional mystery, not a cozy. And it takes place in Alaska, and it's really awesome. So she has a new book coming out in a week or two, and it's called Cold Wind. The first one is called Thin Ice.
Ooh, and, nice. Great title.
Yeah, I listened to it on books on tape. I mean, Audible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was reading it, listening at night after I went to bed, and I had to stop listening because it was so scary. And it wasn't really scary, but it was tense. There's suspense. Right. So it was really cool. It was a great, really fun.
I just read Nalini Singh's A Madness of Sunshine, which is her first step outside of the romance genre to mystery thriller.
Oh, wow.
And it was that way. It was a good psychological tension that you're like, you turn in the pages and yet you're like, yeah. And I was trying to remember the Alyssa Cole. I just started hers, and I had to put it down so that I could go to bed. And I hated to do that. That's always dangerous for me to start a book late at night. Yes. Her book is called When No One Is Watching.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've seen that. I've seen the cover.
The cover's great. The cover's outstanding. But the book, I got like 4 chapters in, and I'm like, okay, it is 2:00 in the morning. Put it down and go to bed because you have to get up in the morning.
Yeah,
I love those kind of books, though. I love it when
I
something
know.
captures me like that. Another cozy that I authored that I like, she has 2 or 3 different series, and that's Ellery Adams.
Mhm.
No relation. But her series have been really good. I've enjoyed
Yeah,
those too.
yeah, she's got a book
Book,
series, book scone and
the book and that's it, the Book and Scone Society, and then she's
right.
got one that's it's a book club mystery.
I think
It's
Books by the Bay was one of her
Books by the
series.
Bay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That series is really, really good too. I've enjoyed that. One of the things that I really deeply appreciate both about her work and about yours is you your clues about what's going on in the mystery are so subtle that I usually get to the end of the book, which I thoroughly enjoy. And then I turn right around and read it again with a more analytical hat on, going, where were the clues dropped? Now that I know who did do it, let me see where the clues were dropped. And one of the things I admire deeply about your work, Kate, is that you are so subtle with it that there's not, sometimes you read a mystery, and even if the story is engaging and wonderful, there's a big flashlight going back and forth going, woohoo, I'm the killer. It's figuring out how they catch me, but I'm the one who did it. And those don't entertain me as much as something like your work, where my part of my brain is always going, okay, I don't know who did this. And I guess partly because I'm a writer, but also partly because I've read so many.
Right.
Part of your brain is always going, well, I think it's this person. Well, no, it's that. You are so good at keeping the reader guessing in terms of a little red herring here, but not the whole fish, just a little bit. That you think, well, maybe it's not them. And then well, okay, but that makes it seem like it's not them either. And I really, really appreciate that. You have such a knack for that.
Thank you.
And I think that's a real gift. Do you plot that out in advance, or are you a plotter or are you a pantser? Do you?
I am a plotter, but as soon as I start writing, I forget that I've plotted the book. And seriously, I go all these different ways. But I do plot. I plot out every book, and I try to be really, straightforward, right? Stick to the plot. But it always gets away from you. I mean, it's those characters. They just sort of take over and stuff.
They do have a mind of their own.
I have plotted several of my Bibliophile mysteries. I have plotted the whole book, the killer, the victims, everything. And I get about 3/4 of the way through. This has happened 3 times. And I can't make that guy the killer because I fall in love with him, or they're just too cute or something. And I just have to, so then I have to go back and invent a brother or somebody, because I can't do anyone else that's in the book because I got plans for all of them. So I actually have to go back and add in a character and put in another line of, it's insane. I mean,
That's
we
so
all
cool.
are just crazy, but yeah, that's happened a couple times. It freaks me out.
Now I have to go back and read the whole series and figure out if I can figure out which ones you did that with.
I'll tell you off stage. It's
okay.
No, you just go back and read them all. That's okay.
Yeah, no, that's what I'll do.
Okay.
I love to recommend your books for the very reason I said that they're engrossing, in the sense that you really do get drawn into Brooklyn Wainwright's world. You learn, as a reader, you learn a ton about bookbinding and the book world and things that, that's a world a lot of people don't know anything about. And it's very sort of labyrinthine in the way that it works. do you have some expertise in that area, or did you have to go learn about bookbinding and the book world?
My expertise came from taking classes when I was about 8 years old, 8 or 10, making little books at the park, the recreation center next door to my house. And so I was never, classically trained bookbinder. But I just enjoyed that. And I used to put books together and, with punch holes and string. And as soon as I made the book, my work was done. Some people would write a story inside the book. I never did that. I like to make the books. So when I started thinking about, this, what can I do for my next number? I thought of all the cozy mysteries, as I said before, have a hook. And the hook is the occupation, really, of the amateur sleuth. And so it sounds sort of formulaic, but it's really not. You make up your own mystery. But to fit in that niche, it's basically marketing niche. You have an amateur sleuth with a occupation that's strange or interesting or quirky. And I looked through my life to see what I enjoyed, because you might want to spend 5 or 6 years on this, writing these books.
Right.
Longer in this case, but and I had a dear friend, a really close friend, who's a bookbinder, and he is a master bookbinder. And once in a while, he'd come to stay at our house for the weekend, and he would, pay us back by taking a book out of our bookshelf and binding it in the gorgeous leather binding, and he'd send it back to us a month later. And it was like, oh my God. So when I thought about, what I'd like to talk about in books for, well, at least 3 anyway, I thought of a bookbinder, and then I started Googling bookbinders, books about bookbinders. There aren't any. I mean, as far as mysteries, there's bookstores and booksellers and, that sort of thing. There's no bookbinders. So I was very excited. I sent it to my agent, and she sold it. So, but that's where that came from. It wasn't me per se, but it was a good friend.
So has he continued to be a resource for you, or have you done a lot of the research for your books?
I've done my own research, and then I started taking classes, serious bookbinding, the real deal, making an actual book, at a place up in San Francisco Center for the Book. And so I was doing that every 2 years or so, going up there for research, and also for the wine country. And
well, yeah.
But so I would take a class every couple of years just to re-up my head for the world that she's in. But there's also a lot of other things to do with that world. There's, old bookstores and antiquarian books and book auctions and things like that.
And you've used a book auction and an antiquarian book seller in your series.
Right. And I tried for a long time. I was going to the antiquarian book fair every year. And in California, they switched from San Francisco one year and Pasadena, Los Angeles area the next year. So I try to go to those. But lately they are not available to go to.
Right. Right.
But anyway, so I just kind of immerse myself in the world, even though I'm not a bookbinder per se.
Right. That's so cool. Now, did you do that same sort of thing with the Fixer Upper Mysteries, or did you just watch a lot of HGTV?
Rehab addict.
Yes.
She's crazy.
Yes.
I love her. For the fixer-uppers, I actually grew up, my father was a building contractor. My brother is a house painter. And he painted a lot of the buildings in San Francisco well, not a lot of them, but he painted in San Francisco in the Victorian, beautiful, all the different colors of the different.
They're gorgeous
stuff. They're just amazing. So he did that for many years. So I borrow from his life a little. I steal. And then my father, as I said, was a building contractor, and he would take us all on to the building site. And he also did a lot of, in building contracting, you either build houses or you repair them. And usually if you repair them, it's because there's fire or water damage.
Right.
So there's a lot of driving to the dump to get rid of things. So we would go to the dump, and it was like the most exciting thing in the world to go to the dump. So I have a lot of experience in that world too.
Now, is there really a town that's similar to the town that you created for Shannon and her family?
The town that I kind of took all of this from, because I wanted her to have I wanted her building contracting world to be cozy, which is why I wanted them to be Victorian houses. There's a town in Northern California up by Eureka. It's called Ferndale. It is a Victorian town, and it is on the National Registry of Historic. The whole town is got its own, plaque. They're on the National Register of Historic Places or buildings or whatever, but everything in town is Victorian. And that's what I kind of based the idea on. Plus it's right it's right near the ocean. It's not really a resort in terms of, being by the beach or anything. My town it's right on the beach, and it's,
As you say, that's one of the lovely things about it is it's right on the beach, and it just sounds like a charming place to visit.
Yeah, that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted, because Brooklyn, the Bibliophile mysteries take place in San Francisco, basically, and then also the wine country, it's a small town, but it's the wine country, so it's cosmopolitan and sophisticated, and it's not exactly your small town in the typical cozy sense of a small town.
Right.
But for Shannon, for the fixer-uppers, I wanted a small town, and I wanted a small town girl. And she's perfectly sophisticated as well, but she's born and raised in this town, and she loves it. And she's, she takes care of it, and when there's people going around murdering and everything,
we have to fix that.
It's like, this can't happen in my town. So she's, she's on the case.
Now, they're very different lead characters. How do you get in the headspace of, do you keep the book separate in the sense of you only write one at a time? Is that part of how you keep, because Brooklyn is a very different character than Shannon is.
Yeah, I only write one at a time. Since I switch back and forth, it gets a little tricky when I'm first starting a new book. I have to go through and make sure that I haven't called Shannon Brooklyn, or Mac, Derek,
Yeah.
for some of the characters. But to me, they're very different, and they have a whole different worldview, and the whole different personalities. But in my head, they're me, only younger and taller, and so it's easy to jump into a new one, but I also have a little help. I usually read or listen to one of the last books that I finished in that series, just to get my head back into
that space.
A new series. Yeah. because that does get tricky. I do. Who am I?
Now, yeah. Who am I writing again? Wait a minute. Who am I? Well, one of the thrilling things about for you, I'm sure it was for all of us who are your friends and fans, was when we learned that Hallmark had adapted the Shannon Hammer Fixer Upper Mysteries for a Hallmark movie. So tell us a little bit about that.
That was a thrill, just a complete, utter thrill. I can't even describe it.
Did you know your agent was shopping it, or did they come to you?
Well,
or
my agent, the agency also did the Joanne Fluke bakery shop series on Hallmark. And they wanted, oh my God, they wanted every cozy mystery out there that they could find. But since my agency had they had a contact, they had the production company. So I can't say that it was easy. It was an easy sell, but it's like all the players were lined up and they kind of got in there, which is, it was interesting. And I didn't have anything to do with the writing, which is fine with me because I can't write a script to save my life. And I've tried. So my mind doesn't work in that, clean, clear-cut way that a script is written. I have to have my, internal thoughts, and the character needs to be, wondering and worrying in her head. So
we have to have internal dialogue, damn it.
Yes, lots of that. So somebody else was in charge of that, and I was fine. And Jewel, who was a complete shock, and she, I don't know, I think they almost package these things because she knew about it before I ever heard about it. My agent never heard about it because we started following her online, on Facebook and stuff. And so that was exciting. And they invited me up to the, to the set, and they film in Canada, in British Columbia, on Vancouver Island, which is fabulous. Put us up in the gorgeous Empress Hotel. I mean, it was just deluxe. I was just very excited and very fun. My husband came with me, and we were at the set, and I mean, it was just, you're the writer. Yeah, I'm the writer. Okay, you're the writer. You sit over here and shut up.
Yeah. What was it like to see your characters come to life in 3 dimensions on film?
It's fascinating and wonderful, and they are, I still, if they rerun the movies on Hallmark, I watch them because I'm just like, oh, they're so cute, and I
know every time I see it come up in the queue, I watch it.
It's so silly, but I'm a fan. And, they changed everything. They changed her name. They changed the color of her hair. Oh my God, I got comments on Facebook. Why did they make her a blonde?
I know. I saw them. I was like, well, it's Jewel.
It's Jewel, and she ain't going to wear a redheaded wig. I mean, come on. And that's the least of my problems. They, of course, they changed the script because they have to fit this story into an 1.5-hour mystery. So The first time we watched it, no spoiler, but whatever, the first scene is a boat exploding. Well, there's no boat exploding in my books, but it was visual. It set the story in motion immediately, and it was great. They took sort of, and I don't know if they do this for other authors' works, but they take the germ of the mystery,
right,
and they turn it into a movie, and it's just fascinating.
Well, and having read the books and then seeing the Hallmark, you know, there's enough familiarity, you know, there's enough that is familiar on the screen that you go, oh, I know this. This is so cool. And yet it is a different medium. And I knew going in that it was going to be different because it's a different medium. And it's, as you say, such a compacted time frame to get that big story in there, because the fixer-uppers are a big story. You've got lots of threads weaving in, and again, with your characteristic skill, you have everybody going, now, is it, well, no, it can't be, because that, is it? And it takes a lot more than an hour to have that many threads weaving. So I knew it wasn't going to be as complex and as luscious as your stories are, but it sure was fun to
They're
see.
very fun. Yeah.
To see your story come to life on screen.
Yeah, she has 4 girlfriends or 5 friends in town, and they boiled that down to 1 girlfriend, and that's fine. She had,
she had plenty to do.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with any of it. I had lots of people on Facebook, well, why did they do this? And why did it's a different medium. They have my name in the front. It's great.
And to me, I always thought, from an author's perspective with something like that, if somebody liked that 1 hour show, they're going to go look up your books, because they know books are going to be far more of a rich experience. Anybody who's going to go look up a book about a movie, it knows that there's going to be a bigger, richer experience. So it's all good. If that drives sales to your books, yeehaw. Now, how many total did Hallmark make?
Well, they ended up making 3. They told me they wanted to make 9, because they loved Jewel. They loved Colin Ferguson was the male romantic interest, I guess, but he was, the other character, the main character, and they like the stories. They like a woman in kind of a woman in a man's world. It's not really, some of them aren't, like a bake shop and things like that. They're not really man's world, but that's what appealed to them. And that's what appealed to Jewel, because she grew up in Alaska, and, she knows how to do all this stuff. So it appealed to her. And they were ready. In fact, I think they had started writing the script for the 4th one, and then Jewel's schedule went fluey. I mean, she had to back out of the whole thing, and it was heartbreaking. But
yes. Well, hopefully one of these days she'll get back to it.
Yeah, maybe. I have no idea, but it was a fun run, and I was so thrilled and privileged to have been, a part of it. So it's fun.
Yay. So what's next for you coming in 2021? Obviously we've got a Shannon Hammer Fixer Upper December 1st. Mm-hmm. You've got you had a June book for the Bibliophiles for Brooklyn. Right. What's up in 2021?
In June of 2021, a new Bibliophile mystery. It's called Little Black Book. And
there's so many possibilities with that.
There should be, but you'll be surprised.
Okay.
It's interesting. I've turned it into my editor. I haven't gotten her comments back, or revision notes and things like that, and I expected to get a lot of it, but it's really a fun story. I introduce a new character, and they go from, I don't even know if I should tell you, but I'll tell you. You won't tell anyone.
I won't.
They go from San Francisco to Dharma, her town in Sonoma, and then they go to Scotland.
Oh, even better.
Yeah. So, and the story takes them from there to there. It's, it's not just like, oh, let's go to Scotland. No,
although that would have been fun too.
Right.
I'd have gone along for that.
Yeah. And so it's kind of a departure, because this new character is sort of central to the whole story, but it's Brooklyn and Derek taking care of her and keeping her out of trouble, and this kind of, not trouble, but keeping her from getting killed.
Excellent. Always a good choice.
Right. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a real different cover, and anyway.
Did you go to Scotland and do your research, ma'am?
Not recently, but I have been to where it takes place, and I'm a sort of a Scotophile. So I've been there 5 times, 5 different trips. So we were planning a trip just in the spring. Don't think we'll make it, but eventually we'll get back.
I was planning to go to Ireland this spring, but that's not going to happen. So
yeah, we'll just talk about it. And
that's right, a lot. We'll talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
So where in Scotland is it set? Is it set in Edinburgh or in outlying areas, or?
It's set on Loch Ness.
Oh, most excellent. Even more reason to look forward to it.
Yeah.
So will there be another fixer-upper in 2021 as well?
Yes, there'll be another fixer-upper. I'm just starting to write that one. And it'll probably change. That one will come out next December. The same, each book comes out once a year, but then the paperback comes out. So 3 books come out, but 2 books are written. So
that
makes sense.
Right. So obviously both of these series keep you extremely busy, and you've already said you probably will not get time to go back to the brothers.
Yes.
Do you think you will add an additional series at some point? Do you have other ideas for other series that you'd like to pursue, or are you just going to stick with these 2 for now?
I would stick with these 2 for now if I could, and everyone will let me. But I do have an idea.
I can say from being one of your fan base, we'll let you. Oh yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I do have an idea for another series, and I don't know how we would fit it into the schedule, but we might try. Otherwise, I'll just keep writing these 2 until, I'm so happy. They're like part of my family, these characters. So if that happened, that would be great. But I do have an idea for a 3rd series, or a series to take the place of one of the other ones, but I don't want them to go away.
Oh no, they can't go away. You have to morph time so you can add something else in, because these 2 can't go away. We can't lose Brooklyn or Shannon. They're too much fun to read.
Yes, I agree. They're not going anywhere for now, but
that's so great. Well, Kate, it has been an absolute delight to have this hour with you and learn about what's coming and hear a little about your journey. Tell us where we can find you on the web, and where we can where readers can find your books.
Well, you can find my books at all the usual places. I try to push the mystery bookstores around the country. We have Poison Pen in Phoenix, Scottsdale. We've got Murder by the Book in Houston, and Mystery Lovers in Pittsburgh. And there are other little independent bookstores that are in your neighborhood. I would highly recommend that you use them to keep them in business, and because they provide, such a wonderful world for us. But you can also get them on Amazon.
And the library.
And Barnes and Noble, and the library, of course, and Audible, and wherever you get your books. What was the other question?
Where can we find you on the web?
I'm at katecarlisle.com, but I'm also on Facebook. I have a pretty active Facebook page, and we like to do giveaways pretty regularly, just because,
it's fun.
It gets everybody happy. And I'm also on Instagram and, Twitter. Don't go on Twitter because, it's crazy right now, but I enjoy Twitter and Instagram. I love them all. I really have a good time on social media. I should turn them all off and get back to writing, but
Well, yeah, I know. I always say I'm on Twitter and Facebook far more than I should be. But I
yes.
also will encourage anybody to sign up for Kate's newsletter, because it's outstanding and equally fun, because there's always some snippet about a forthcoming book or a contest or some cool thing that Kate has thought up for her readers.
Yeah.
So such a pleasure to have you, Kate. So good to see your smiling face.
Thank you so much. I love looking at your face because it's been a long time.
It has been. And
Yeah.
thank all of you all for joining us at ConTinual, the con that never ends.
Yay.